You're listening to The Moment, an interview podcast series on life. We interview and capture conversations with creative minds, thought leaders, disruptors, and the people that are doing what they love while challenging the status quo. You can find the show notes on our website, themomenthq.com, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. But for now, let's dive into the moment. Hey there, Monica Kade here. If this is your first time listening, a big warm welcome. Today on The Moment, we're chatting to Nick Bell, who is a global entrepreneur and founder of WME, Australia's largest digital marketing agency. Now, Nick has been very entrepreneurial from a young age, and this was quite evident when he began selling his homemade school lunch in order to fund his first overseas trip to London. Today, we'll chat to Nick about not limiting your direction and being open to all opportunities. Now, I'm sure everyone's very intrigued to find out more, so let's dive right in. Hi, Nick, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Monica. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. I know everyone's eager to hear about your sandwich venture, but before we go down that path, I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about your life growing up as a kid, which was on a sheep and cattle farm, I believe, in Victoria.
That's correct. So I grew up on a very small sheep and cattle farm in country Victoria. So a very quiet and normal life. My nearest next door neighbour was about 3 kilometres away, and vice versa. So it was a very quiet life. I went to school down the city, so each day was about an hour and a half on the school bus there and back. That was just a very normal childhood, just on a farm with a lot of animals, paddocks, and grass. It was very, very different to a lot of city kids' life.
Sure. And so as a kid growing up, did you have any particular aspirations as to who you wanted to grow up and be or anything like that?
To be honest, my first aspiration was to get off the farm. I think it was when I was 12 years old. I was like, this life isn't for me. And I remember watching a TV show when I was 12 or 13 years old about this travel show, and this lady goes around the world to different islands and different places around the world, eating amazing food and drinking beautiful wine and going to the best parties in the world. I was like, that's what I want to do. When I was a young kid, I looked outside and all I could see was sheep and cows. I was like, this isn't for me. So I said, when I was 14 years old, to myself, I'm going to move to London when I'm 18 years old. That was my pact to myself. So I didn't have any aspirations to be anyone, but I know what I wanted to do when I finished school.
Awesome. And so can you then take us into this story about your lunches and how that kind of came into your mind and what that was all about?
Look, how it came about, in year 9, I always had an amazing lunch in school. My mum made the best lunches: chicken and avocado sandwiches, chocolate bars, cakes, the works.
Wow.
One lunchtime, this kid goes, can I have some food? And I said, no, man, it's my lunch. He goes, I'll buy it off you. I'm like, okay. And he gave me $1.50 for a chicken and avocado sandwich. So another kid came and bought some sandwiches. I thought, okay, there's a bit of business here. And I had a goal of getting to London, and my parents didn't want to give me any money, didn't want to give me any pocket money. There was none of that business. So I thought, how am I going to get to London with no money? So I thought, start selling the school lunch. And then I started selling school lunch during lunchtime, afternoon break, and then from school to my home was a 1.5 hour bus ride.
Right.
And young kids who are hungry will pay top dollar for a chicken and avocado sandwich. So at the end of every day, I'd jump on the back seat and start auctioning off my lunch. And I'd go 50 cents here, 75 cents there, and the kids were paying it. From year 9 to year 12, I was auctioning off my school lunch on a regular basis. Then I started leasing out some golf clubs I had. So I used to play a lot of golf as a kid, and kids couldn't afford to buy the golf set, so I would lease out a 1-wood or a 7-iron. Just a couple of days here and there, I lease out some clubs, etc. And then when they wouldn't get the clubs back, I just negotiate to give it back with them. So you can don't pay me interest, but give it back to me tomorrow, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I ended up selling my school lunch for 3 years. My mum never realised that she was packing, by the end of my year 12, 3 school boxes full of food. The best sandwiches, the best of everything. She didn't realise I was selling my lunch. I was like, Mum, I was thinking, how can you not realise I'm not selling my lunch? I'm 55 kilos, I'm 6 foot tall, I'm super bloody skinny, and I'm eating all this food every day. Something's wrong. And she didn't pick up on it. So I had enough money to fly to London the day after I finished school.
That's an amazing story. It's very, very cool. So when did she find out? Did you tell her?
She found out about 6 months ago or 4 months ago when the article came out.
Wow. And what was her response? How did...
She just laughed.
Yeah, of course.
What could she do?
Oh, yeah, of course. after you moved away, you did lots of different things for a career. Like you've been in hospitality, recruitment, you had your own business doing skincare. You're a professional golfer at some point?
I was a training professional. So like most young adults or young kids, they're lost. They don't know what they want to do. So when I came back from London, I went to university for a matter of time, 6 weeks actually, studying a Bachelor of Business Marketing. I was sitting in a macroeconomics class and I was thinking, this isn't for me. This is basically all Chinese to me. I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I was thinking, this isn't for me. So I just jumped in the car and drove home. My parents go, Nick, what are you going to do? I'm like, Mum, Dad, I know hospitality quite well. I've been working in bars in London. So I started doing a TAFE course, Diploma in Hospitality Management. I started that whilst working part-time in bars and as a porter at a hotel. So I worked as a porter, basically delivering food, carrying bags, opening doors, etc. And I did that for about 2 years. And then what made me resign, when I was carrying bags to this one customer, I looked after this customer the whole week. Food, amazing service, just gave them the royal treatment. At the end of the week, I packed all the bags in the car and they go, I've got a tip for you. They gave me 25% tip. And I said, I really looked after you. I didn't say anything, but I was thinking, enough's enough, done with this. And then I moved to Club Med for a few months and played golf.
Were you around 27 when you started WME?
I was 27. I had roughly $400 left in my name. I didn't have any money. And I had two choices. One, I could go work for a company and do sales, which I was quite good at, or I could start an internet marketing business that I knew very little about. I did some research. I learned a little bit from the Skimby 5 business I had. So I did a bit of online marketing myself. And I thought, what have I got to lose? I didn't have a mortgage. I had no kids. So there was nothing to lose. I didn't really have any money, so I've never experienced losing money. I got a website built in Vietnam for $100. I got a mobile phone and I started cold calling people off Google. And then within 7 days, someone sent me a check for $10,000. And I thought, well, okay, there's a business here.
And that was a big turning point for you in your life, I guess.
It was a great business to learn how to do business because you're dealing with SMEs and you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to business acumen, how to understand other people's businesses. And once you're doing the sales, the finances, the account management, basically all aspects of the business, you learn very quickly how to run a small business.
I also read that you said you don't do business plans, that you're very flexible. You tend to wing it and you go on gut instinct and what feels right.
That is true, which is not always the best way. Do I recommend it? Probably not. But I always believe go with your gut. When I started the business, I didn't do any business plans. I just went with what I thought was right. Do I recommend it? Yes and no. But a lot of business plans that are done these days, they change. So you might do a business plan, but a month later it just changes. It always changes. Every business plan that I've ever seen, it's always evolved and changed. And it's never accurate.
Exactly. I agree. I'm a big believer in, gut instinct, intuition. And I think, even life is so unplanned that how can a business plan go according to plan? So do you think that there's a bit of stigma or pressure around younger entrepreneurs, like to be successful around 30?
I think in the past 12 months there's a lot more hype around being an entrepreneur. When I started, I think there was very little. It's now the in thing.
Yeah.
10 years ago, my mum told me to get a real job. She goes, Nick, don't do this internet thing. Go get a real job and earn $100,000 a year and work for the man and just do your thing until you're 50 years old.
Yeah.
These days, is it pressure? No. I think you put pressure on yourself to win and to succeed in business. I know I do. I know if I'm not performing, I've got lazy, I go, Nick, come on, snap out of it, get your game back and step up a notch.
That's so true. We do create the own pressure for ourselves. I think as well, if we run our own race without comparing ourselves so much to what everyone else is doing, I think that's probably a better path to go down as well.
Absolutely. Don't look what your competitors are doing. Look what they're doing and better at. Look, if someone's making $1 billion a year, don't worry about it. Just focus on your own business and just do it really well and the rewards will come.
Yeah, exactly. I did an interview yesterday and the person I was speaking with said that your dream is your dream and no one else has to believe in it. Only you need to believe in your dream, which I think ties in quite nicely to what we said.
Very true, very true.
And I guess for me, I'm noticing there's a bit of a shift in the way that people are living and in the way that they approach career and work life. And there is more entrepreneurial activity happening and people want to have their own businesses. And there's a bit of a phrase of do what you love happening. What do you think about that?
Look, I know a lot of people these days want to run their own business and have their life where they can work from a beach. Do I believe that's reality? No. And a lot of people just don't have the drive to do it. It's that simple. They've got the idea and they've got the dream, but but in reality, it's not within them to do it.
Do you think, there's a bit of a difference between, like, people may look at you, for example, in your business and they might say, I want that. But when they realise the work that goes into creating something like this, that's where they fail and that's where they don't have the determination?
It's the work ethic, determination to push past the tough times. Because in the first 12 months, you're not going to make any money. And a lot of people want us to stay in a lifestyle where they can go out, go to dinner at restaurants or go travelling. You can't have that in the first year or two unless you've got some serious backing. With my business, I didn't have any backing, or I still don't have any backing. It was all self-funded. So there was no travel or fancy restaurants in the first couple of years. But a lot of young guys think they're going to make $1 million in the first 6 months. It's not reality.
What I really liked about your story as well is how you have had lots of different career paths before you've gotten to where you are.
I've had a few.
I think the sandwich and the golf part is still definitely my favourite. I think that's a hard one to top. For kids or for people, not even kids, anyone that's really struggling with their direction in life, what advice can you give to them in terms of finding what it is that they want to do?
I think first of all, if you're looking to start your own business, try and find a mentor who's done quite well themselves. Because in the early days, I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have the mentorship from someone who's been successful in business already. So try and find someone who can assist you with making the right decisions. And second of all, just don't give up.
Do you think that it's okay to go in all these different directions? Like, there's this idea that success is a straight line, but ultimately we know it's not. It kind of goes rounds in all these loops and circles and different things like that. What do you think?
Personally, I think doing all those jobs in my younger days, where I was a porter, working in bars, I cleaned toilets, I think that made me appreciate the value of money more.
Sure.
And when I start a new business, I run it lean. I run it like a startup. I don't buy marble boardroom tables. I run a very lean business, and I'm very conservative with the money. And I think making sure you understand the value of money, even when you have it, is so important in doing business. That no matter what business you do it quite well because you can be very conservative in how you spend the money.
I like that, and I understand that myself. I know I've worked on certain projects and things where you don't have the resources, but you make it work much better than the people that do have all the resources, and it goes to show that it is possible if you really want to achieve something.
I invested in business roughly 6 years ago. I won't know the business, but I invested in business with 2 other partners. We had a roughly startup capital of about $500,000. It's a decent amount of money. Before the business was generating revenue, the other partners bought the best of everything. Tables, they threw parties, they went on trips overseas, and they blew all the money before the business even started. But because it was majority vote, I couldn't outvote the guys on the purchases. So it was a lesson learned, always run a business like a startup, because the money can disappear like that. No matter if it's $1 million or $2 million, it's not a huge amount of money, and it will burn very quickly.
Yeah, that's some very good advice. I'm going to ask you some signature questions that I ask everybody. What moves you?
Very good question. Better in myself. I always want to be better in what I do.
And what do you feel is your greatest asset?
My work ethic. I'm not the smartest guy on the planet, but I work my ass off. If I don't know something, I'll try and learn it. And if I'm not good at it, then I'll hire someone who is good at it. So I'm very good at identifying my weaknesses, my strengths, and finding the right people to complement my weaknesses.
I think that's really great to be able to do because, we can't all be the best at everything, and it then gives the opportunity to the people who are the best in that field to step up and help you out while you go and do what you're really good at.
Right. One more thing, have no fear in business. When I first started, I didn't even think about failing. It wasn't in the best. I didn't even think about it. Because what have you got to lose? So I never thought about not making a dollar. Back yourself and you'll do well in business. If you've got some common sense and some smarts and you work hard, you'll do well in business. It's very, very simple.
So tell me what scares you.
Apart from snakes.
Ooh. You grew up on a farm though.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. What scares me in business? Look, I set myself pretty high goals in what I do, and if I don't achieve those goals, I don't get down on myself, but I get annoyed at myself, and I get pissed off at myself. And
can you tell me what the greatest piece of advice that you've been given is?
Keep business simple. Never overcomplicate the situation.
I like that one. I think that's a very good one all round. Well, that wraps up our interview today. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
No, thank you for everything. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Cheers.
Bye.